Swim check 1, 2. Bike check 1, 2. Run check 1, 2. I think we're ready. Let's try this. Welcome to the Try Beginner's Luck podcast, a podcast where we explore the sport of triathlon from a variety of perspectives to help beginner triathletes on their journey. I am your host, Mashonda Shines. All right, y'all, welcome back to another edition of Try Beginner's Luck. Happy New Year. I guess that's in order, even though this is February, but I haven't had an opportunity to tell you, so just wanted to say Happy New Year. And I'm excited that you have chosen to listen to us again. I am so thrilled. I'm excited. Yeah, all those words that I would start the podcast with. However, I want to start today by acknowledging the elephant that's in the room and what's particularly happening in the world, where it feels like it's on fire in so many ways. And if we were in a race right now, it would feel like 100 degrees with a massive headwind, and probably we've gotten a flat tire. And we would probably laugh at it, but also be disappointed and also be confused all in the same breath, right? And there is a tension that we all feel, but here is my commitment to you. This show will be the transition area. In triathlon, we don't ignore the hills or the heat. We acknowledge them, we adjust our pace, and we keep moving forward. My goal here during this season is to provide a joyful, insightful content that will make you want to keep training even when the world outside feels extremely chaotic. So this will be a space where you can come and decompress and not be distracted. We aren't turning a blind eye to the reality, but we are choosing to not let it drain our battery. We're going to control the controllables. We can't fix the whole world at once, but we can control our effort, our kindness, and our community. And let's fuel the fire. I'm here to provide information that will help you cross your personal finish lines, regardless of what happens on the sidelines. So we are going to recognize the struggle. We're going to refuse to contribute to the noise, and we're going to focus on the miles ahead. So I hope you're with me, because that's my commitment to you. And if you love this podcast, I want you to start sharing it with others. If you love to try, share this podcast with others, because it is going to be the way that we will be able to decompress and just enjoy what we all love and we get to do. Now that we had that important business out the way, I get to welcome two incredible women to this podcast. I've actually been a little nervous, and I say this before every podcast because I never get too comfortable with this. It's a joy that I get the opportunity to have this platform, and I don't take it for granted. And one of the things that I love is listening and seeing friendships develop, evolve, and come together in a way that's absolutely beautiful, especially when you finish really tough, hard races together. And these two guests have done just that. Imagine going to a training camp where you don't know who's going to be your roommate, and you somehow get room with someone who's turned out to be your bestie tri-friend. Well, that's the case here. And we have to say thanks to the organization that brought them together, which is Fast Chix. So shout out to Fast Chix for helping more women of color get in and try. So our first guest didn't get into triathlon chasing medals. She came through friendship, curiosity, and just a simple yes. She put her tennis racket down, only for a moment because she still plays occasionally, but she picked up a sprint triathlon, a milestone birthday that turned into an Ironman start. And she's continued to try through the ups and the downs that triathlon has brought, through deferred races, through mechanical heartbreaks, through injury, through other things that might not have always gotten her to the finish line. But one thing that she has not done was quit. She keeps trying because she understands that no matter what, through accountability, through showing up for yourself, through rehabbing your knee, through diet changes, through physical therapy, through it all, you don't stop trying. You lean in and you become resilient and you move on to the victory. Our next guest is someone who, like many beginners, didn't have a bike, didn't know how to swim, underestimated how hard it would be. But she found Fast Chix, like I mentioned earlier, and saw so many women who look like her. So guess what? She stretched herself. She jumped in and she started off with a sprint. Again, had those ups and downs, but ultimately made it to her first 70.3, and then most recently in 2025, her first full distance race, Ironman California. So the first guest I was talking about is none other than Georgina Texera and Dr. Rogenia Jones. Ladies, welcome to Try Beginner's Luck. Ladies, welcome to Try Beginner's Luck. How y'all doing?
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for having us.
Of course. So what I did not say, so the first person who I gave the introduction to was G, and then Rogina. And I did it that way because I wasn't sure how I wanted to introduce you because you have such a good story. But now that you guys are on camera, they also have this thing, and you can tell the story better than me, but when they're buying stuff or when they're doing stuff, they blame each other for the other one making them do it. It is the most hilarious thing ever. And so why I have them on because I really admire their friendship. I admire how they try, but most importantly, I really admire how they blame each other into purchases and to racing. The if this is the uh, definition next to fear of missing out and that's FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. Yeah, I did that right. Okay. If that's the next to the definition, these two are right there. You'll see a picture of them right there. I just want to jump in because Fast Chix is how you guys met each other at a training camp, the beautiful turquoise waters in, was it
It was Costa Rica.
Costa
right?
Rica?
That's the first one?
Yeah, yep, Costa Rica.
Let's start there. Because first of all, a bunch of Black women in Costa Rica, riding, swimming, running. Let's just start there. Tell us about that trip and your first time meeting each other.
I think I have to start because if I don't start, the story will get twisted and it won't end up with the GeeTex made me buy it hashtag.
Shay, did you feel that?
All the time. That's why there's the GeeTex is Innocent project.
GeeTex is not innocent. So we both were part of Fast Chix. I'm quite sure G was a part of Fast Chix before I joined the group, but we both decided to do the training camp. It was the first Fast Chix Training in Paradise training camp. And then I don't know if it was a lunch or breakfast or something, some meal kind of happened. And I ended up sitting next to the wonderful G. And in this conversation, which stereotypically happens with G, she has data and information and insight on all things triathlon. And so she started talking about her power meter and left and right and the data that it gives her for her left side versus her right side. And then the conversation just continued. And then there ended up being more and more things that she had that was giving her all of this data, the power meter, the cycling computer, and all of that. And so within 24 hours, I had those two things in a shopping cart and had purchased them. Then the next day, we're at another, I don't know if we're just hanging out or something. And she started talking about these goggles and how you can't feel them and they form to your face and you send in this little screen of like your face and how wonderful they are. So before that weekend ended, I had bought a power meter for my bike. I had bought a cycling computer for my bike. And I had bought the new goggles that she had been raving about. And was there anything else? I feel like there was something else. Oh, the whoop. How can we forget the whoop? She also had this thing on her wrist that was not a Garmin. And so I think I inquired about it. And so she started again with all the data that it gives her about her sleep, HRV, her training readiness, and all of that. So I purchased that too. And that is how the hashtag GeeTex made me buy it start. Within 48 hours of meeting her, I had spent a number that had a comma in it. Hence why she is now on my taxes. I have a separate line that says GeeTex made me buy it every year.
And do you know when she was telling that story, G did confirm the other items. So this is really showing that it's G that's the problem, or at least that's what I'm sensing.
I agree.
80% of the time. 90. There is a small percentage of the time that I am in fact innocent, but more often than not, I am guilty. But I'm retaining counsel anyways.
Okay. I do know what you're talking about, Dr. Rogina, when you say that the data, the insights, G is filled like with wisdom and knowledge, and to know her is to love her. And if you don't know her, like she's one that you would want in your corner. She is probably the most incredible human that I've met in sports. And I didn't get to say this in the introduction because we did have a little technical faux pas that they got to see, but like we'll jump in and Sherpa anybody for any race and just be their biggest cheerleader. And Ooh, did I get a woo, feeling a woo moment?
So
So
true.
it
So
is,
true.
I've never seen anyone serve selflessly the way she does, from cooking your food to making you go sat down somewhere. So if
And
you
they do
know
brownies.
brownies,
Yes, all the
pretzels, like will come and pack you for your trips. Like, listen,
all the things.
this is the person, this, she is that girl, okay?
You want her in your corner,
You want her in your
100.
corner. So, G,
And you don't have to ask for her to be in your corner. She
that
shows
part,
up. She
that
shows up.
part, that part. And we'll randomly send you flowers just because. Like, you'd be like, stop playing.
I'm like, I really?
Are you serious? This is one of the best humans. Now, any part of the story that we've gotten wrong thus far, please let us know. G, it's your time to speak.
No, no, that's about right. That's about right. I own it. I own it.
So here we are. We're in Costa Rica. We meet up. You leave Costa Rica. And what happens next is a friendship and a bond that's really inseparable. Many years later, here we are. And last year, you all both finished Ironman California together.
We did.
What was that like, training together, buying up all the stuff together? Because you guys were going back and forth with all the purchases throughout the whole time you were training. What was that like to train with someone? G, you being um, the veteran in this case, and RoJo being the beginner and just absorbing all of the things. What was that like training this time around? Because this wasn't your first, G. So tell us about this experience.
It wasn't my first, but I had spent 2024 with a knee injury and got diagnosed right after Christmas with osteoarthritis in my knee. And so I had deferred California to 2025. And if we can we back up just a skosh though? Because when I was racing Ironman Arizona in 23, I was really about done with the long distance, with the early morning wake ups and the long days and the long training and all of that until Dr. Jones here and another Fast Chix, Akira, pretty much strongly advised that there was some fine print that required me to do an Ironman with them with their first Ironman. But 2024, I needed a break in 2024. Akira had some big life events happening, and then Ro had shoulder problems. So I'll say we lucked out a little bit. We took 24 off to life events and rehab, and then here we hit 25. So I'm January with a knee issue. Because at 24, I would run a mile and my knee would fill up with fluid. We just didn't know why it continued to happen. But then I got that diagnosis, and while I was getting impatient on waiting to figure out what my path forward was, knowing that this Ironman was sitting in October, I did some research, decided to completely change my diet. So I really went cold turkey mid-February, no dairy, no gluten, no sugar. Went to physical therapy to re-strengthen my legs and rebalance myself. Was doing a lot of strength training with Allison 2 times a week. And then just to get ready for it, managing the injury and then getting ready for it. So I felt like I had a bit of a late start because I really didn't get cleared to run until I think March or April. So I really wasn't biking much. And then on top of that, I was really bogged down with work. We were doing a big implementation and I work remotely. So I was having to go out to Ohio in the middle of the summer. I was going out a lot. So the training had its own challenges, but I always enjoyed that Ro and I would check in periodically just to make sure we're okay. And when we hit those moments of I'm tired, I don't feel like it. I had a very classic, my man doesn't give up about your feelings, right? Like, and not only would I sometimes say that to others, I would say that to myself because it didn't matter if my flight home was delayed and I didn't get home until midnight. Guess what? I still needed to be in New Jersey at 6:30 to be wheels down at 7 o'clock for a ride the next day. And I also would say it didn't have to be pretty. It just has to be done, right? And sometimes you just got to go do it. And the speed doesn't matter. Nothing matters. Just go get it done. And so we adopted that mentality, kept checking on each other. And there were some other Fast Chicks that did a lot of the deep training, once we started to peak. But it was good though. We had a good time. And then Ro came out at the end of September for a
I
weekend.
did. I did. So for me, because I'm in Chicago, right away from everybody, and my crew here, they were done training, right? No one else had signed up for a full Ironman. So once half season, right, their big races were done, like no one was interested in doing century rides and the long swims and the long runs. Like they were done. And so I would check in with G, right, to make sure she was doing good and how she was feeling. She would check in with me. And then I looked at my training calendar and I saw I had like 4 rides that were like 6+ hours. So like, and then for me, I had never done a century before. So I came into this training season for this race. I think the longest I had rode my bike was maybe 75 to 85 miles, but I had never touched 100 before. And so I did the first 3 centuries by myself here, because again, my training crew here in Chicago was like, good luck, girl. Like, we're done. We're done. We'll ride 50 with you. We'll ride 55 with you, but we're not hitting 100 with you. And so that last century that I had on the training calendar just so happened to be my birthday weekend. So I was like, there is no better way for this year that I want to celebrate my birthday than to fly out, hunker down with G, and we go on a 100-mile bike ride. It's like our final kind of long ride, hard workout before we kind of hit taper and into the race season. And it was my birthday, so it was a great way to celebrate it. I think G found every hill that Philly had to offer, every single hill. And sometimes we did the hill twice, like every hill that Philly had to offer. But it was so much fun. And it was like the epitome of you get it done and you don't even realize you're doing it because you're having so much fun. Like we had a ball. We went all over Philly. Again, found every hill Philly had to offer. It got so bad that I stopped asking G like how many hills were coming up. And I was just asking her like big ring or small ring, like just let me know what gear I need to be in, because at this point, every hill was a small hill, according to her, when it was not. So I just kept yelling out like big ring, small ring, like just let me know. But I had an absolute ball that weekend. It was a great way to celebrate a birthday.
I love that. And ultimately, the big ring and or small ring didn't matter because when wind is wind, it's wind, right? You
It's
figure it out and you get it done. Like G mentioned, Iron Man doesn't care, or she uses another word about your feelings, nor does it care about what gear you're in. Just get it
You're
done.
done.
So I love that you guys were able to train together and you all held that commitment to each other. And a lot of times when we are racing, things happen. Like you said, you had to take some time off. G, and then everything just aligned for you all to do it together in 25, despite having to get that diagnosis and you changing your diet. I want to talk a little bit about the setbacks for a second, because I think the setbacks really also helped you be resilient and being very successful this year. Like, G, you went cold turkey, you said in February with no dairy, no sugar, no gluten. And you already, based off of insider information that I have, you don't eat after 3 p.m. So, how did that? Because that, to me, your discipline is
Next level.
next level. Like,
Next
if I
level.
could have a fraction of the discipline you have, and let me be very clear, that's not it. This stems from something greater. Like, when G comes from a race, it's immediately unpacking and everything has a place. I don't do that. I've started doing it and I'm like, this is hard, but then you get to rest. And so I've learned so much from G. And they say to get around people who you admire and you pick off some of their habits. Help us pick off some of these habits that you developed and how did you develop them? So I'm talking, I think I asked like 4 questions in one. So first, let's talk about going cold turkey. And that drove into the discipline piece of where you get this discipline from.
I can have a bit of an excessive personality. Like I think you said in the intro, like I'm all in. And if I'm all in with you, like then I'm in, right? I don't do gray areas in much, right? So I'm in or I'm out. And everything I was reading about this osteoarthritis diagnosis said reduce inflammation. And I remember asking the orthopedic doctor, like, can I eat my way out of this? Right. And she said, yeah. And I was like, okay. But, just keep reading, just keep Googling, and everything said reduce inflammation in the body. And so one thing that my physical therapist had told me years ago was that dairy is inflammatory. So I did an experiment years ago and discovered that I have a dairy intolerance, a wheat intolerance. And dairy, wheat, and eggs. So, but when this hit, and it said reduce inflammation. I said, well, there's really only one thing to do, and that is to cut it cold turkey, right? And for the most part, it's just a switch because, I didn't really eat much dairy anyways, because it would bother me and make my joints ache. I didn't eat, I mean, everybody likes to have some toast, and I would get on a cycle of having English muffins, watching how much wheat was in it. But then it was like, okay, that has to go too. And so I've had a number of years with nutritionists that'll say, your carb source can be rice, it can be potatoes, so white potatoes or sweet potatoes or rice or fruit. And so once I shook that, and it was helpful to head into spring where fruit is sweet and I like sweets. So if I really wanted something sweet, I would just eat fruit, right? And just go find the sweetest cherries or Santa Clara Cara oranges and eat those. And then I was good to go. But the foundation of it is I'm eating to fuel myself and this race. And it's easy to lose discipline, especially once I started traveling for work, because, we go to these work events, and when they bring food in, they bring in crap, right? It's the donuts, the muffins, the pizza, the whatever. And it was helpful to be like this, because then I could immediately say, you know what? No, I'm not going to have that. I will go find a salad, and then I will load up a salad and eat that. Or, I would buy protein shakes and fruit and have that. And pretty much after about 3 or 4 weeks of them bringing in pound cake and all this other stuff, I said, this is great for everybody else, but I can't eat this, right? No, I understand nobody else is training for anything, but I am, and I can't sit here and consume these foods, which is why at some point you're going to just get my bill for my lunch, because I have to go eat something that is going to ultimately fuel me for my end goal here.
Well, first of all I kept thinking about is, what would you do to try? And I think that's a question we all can think about. Like, what would we do or give up so that we can try? Now, let's talk about this discipline piece. Because listen, fit my bang, I can take a message, and I'm sure others who are listening could too, with like the discipline. And you mentioned you go all in, but do you ever have moments where you just, okay, I'm going to frolic and I'm going to relax these efforts?
Um, During training, no, I didn't. I think the worst that I ate when I was out on the road is I had found this great pizza place by campus. So they had a gluten-free crust. It was probably the weirdest pizza ever, because I ordered a gluten-free crust with vegan cheese and pepperoni, right? And I went out for a run the next day, and I huffed and puffed for 3 miles. And I thought, oh, the only thing that's different is that I ate this, whatever crust this is, it's gluten-free with the vegan. And I said, okay, no, forget it. No, it's not worth it. And so I really didn't break that until my birthday, which was after Ironman. And then, the end of the year is always difficult because it's my birthday. Then about 4 weeks later is Thanksgiving. Then about 4 weeks later is Christmas, right? So I broke it for my birthday. Had the effects of that with my joints, just feeling my joints ache immediately. Came home and cleaned up everything. Then it was Thanksgiving. I did okay, and then Christmas and New Year's. But like now, I'm going right back. Okay, it's time to get back to the clean diet. So now I'm doing some other experimentation with sourdough and seeing if I can figure out how to make a low gluten sourdough bread with flour imported from Italy, because sometimes I just want toast, right? Sometimes you just want a piece of toast. And so, yeah, that's my newest experiment. But other than that, no, I'm going right back to it. I feel better.
Mm.
I sleep better. And I also learned that, as I came through my late 40s and hit I don't know, premenopause, perimenopause, and my menopause wasn't much of anything for me. It really was a non-starter. Like, it just all of a sudden, I guess I was over. It's through, right? But the biggest issue that I found is that I wouldn't sleep through the night. And so once I kind of figured out, oh, well, some of this must be related to diet, right? And so when Ro was talking about data, I learned that from my whoop. Like, if I ate late and then slept, I'd immediately start waking up at like 1 a.m. And then I would be up for an hour and a half. And then I would struggle to fall asleep and then get up on time. So what I learned is that when I do the intermittent fasting and stop eating at 3, that I sleep better. So with a better diet and stop eating at 3, I can now sleep through the night and get a better quality of sleep. So for a long period, Like my whoop was green every day. Like, oh, that's great. I mean, even if I slept for 6 hours, I'd get up and it would be green. Yeah, I could sleep for 9 hours, it would be green. As soon as I tinker with my diet and eat something too salty or too, if I had something sweet, but mostly it was like too salty. Too salty means I'm not going to sleep through the night. And, with the Ironman training and with the volume, then I was trying to pull, 2 a days. So I get up, be at the pool at 5, maybe come home and then go for a run and then sit down and work a long day. It's the only way to do it is make sure I was getting enough sleep too. So
Now, Dr. Rogina,
Yes, me.
you too have had some challenges where you've had to figure out and become resilient. You are a former cross country runner who once loved running and then not so much. Take us through
Yeah.
your story and evolution to getting to Ironman and the finish line and the ups and the downs that you had to go through.
Gotcha. So I've always been a runner. So I think a lot of us get into triathlons through running. So I ran cross country. I mean, loved running. Um, Went the whole marathon route and all of that. And then in my attempt to Boston qualify, I ran so hard in a race, and it's youth. It was the Chicago Marathon at that. I decided that I was going to run a Chicago Marathon with no water, no electrolytes, and only one pack of sport beans. One pack of sport beans. And so I ended up in the ER with rhabdo. I finished that race. To date, is my fastest marathon. I think it was like a 406, 409. But I shredded my muscles. And so after that, I'll never forget, my husband and my dad looked at me and they were like, "You're not getting paid for this. Like, at some point when this becomes painful and hurtful, it's no longer enjoyment. Like, why are we doing this?" And so I took some years off of running. And in that time, I was still with all of my runner friends here in Chicago, and everyone was getting into triathlons. So I was like, well, maybe I should try that too. I'm at a different stage in life than most of my tri friends. I still, at that time, I guess my kids are still young, but at that time they were young. They were like single digit age young. I was doing my PhD work. And so I was like, I can take this on. Why not? So it was really the balancing of all of that. But then I didn't know how to swim and I did not own a bike. When I had turned 16, I had vowed that since I had driver's license, I didn't need to ride a bike anymore. So from the age of 16, I didn't even own a bike, hadn't touched a bike. So the first thing I did was go out and bought a bike. I bought way too much bike for me at that time, but I still have that trusty road bike. It's my favorite. It's my favorite bike. I bought a Trek Madone as your first bike. No one needs a Trek Madone as their first road bike, but I did anyway. But then it was this learn to swim piece. And so I had taken lessons and lessons and lessons, and I couldn't even float. I didn't realize that I had a fear of water, but apparently I did. So I had to overcome the fear of water. It was such a journey. But for me, that's the power of community. I had all these friends who knew how to swim, who had all these resources. And so together, right, they all got me to learn how to swim. And now actually swimming will be my second favorite. I love cycling. So that's how I got into tries. Started off with a sprint distance. In the sprint, I will never forget, I wore a full wetsuit. And this was in a man-made quarry where every inch of this you could stand up. And it was hot out. Like there was no reason for a wetsuit at all. But at that time, I called it my support blanket, right? Like I was not getting into anything that was not a pool without my wetsuit. So we did that race and then I was hooked. Like it was a lot of fun. That race was an all women's race. So it was a lot of fun. So then I just kind of stepped up. And then I finally got the courage, especially after meeting Fast Chix and hearing everyone else's story, right, of them going the long distance. I was like, all right, I'm going to do a 70.3. So I signed up for Memphis. I still don't know why I chose Memphis, but I signed up for Memphis 2022. And I thought I trained hard, right, for that race. My swim was still super slow. My bike was still super slow. My run was still super, like, I hated it. I despised running. But I was like, I'm going to do this. People like G and other Fast Chicks like convinced me that like, if you want to do this, you can do this. And I believed it. And so I went into that race. I had some plantar fasciitis issues going on. So I didn't know how long my foot was going to last in the race, but I was like, I'm going to give it a try anyway. And lo and behold, I could tell in the first 5 minutes of that run that it was going to be a walk. And I didn't bank enough time for me to be able to walk 13.1 miles and finish within the time cutoff. But there's nothing in me that says quit. So I was like, they're going to have to pull me off this course. If not, I'm moving forward. And so that race literally changed me. I am so happy that I did not choose to quit. As I'm like running, I have all these people that's behind me. And, the sweeper was right there. So the golf cart is right there. And I hear all of these people one by one, and even groups of them, like collude together to quit. So there was like groups of people getting into the golf cart, even though we had made the course cutoffs. They were just deciding that they was not going to finish because they were not going to make the actual course cutoff. And so I finished that race dead last. I was the very last person to finish that race. The first time in my life I had ever finished anything last. I refused the finisher's hat. I refused the medal. Luckily, my mom and aunt was there. So they got my medal and the hat for me. But I remember walking away and saying out loud, never again. Like, will I never feel this way? And it wasn't that I finished last. It was, I wasn't sure if I had done everything I needed to do to finish that race. I'm okay if my effort, if my 100% results in a DNF, I'm okay with that. But I'm not okay if I didn't bring 100%. And training is part of that. And so I wasn't sure. And so I said to myself, never again will I feel this way. That if I'm going to sign up for something, I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to commit to it, or I'm not going to do it. Then I had the shoulder injury, had to take that time off and rehab that, had a little bit too much fun on a fat bike. I bought a fat bike and thought I could do tricks on it and could not, and fell and tore my rotator cuff. So I had to take that season off. But in that time, I decided that I was going to use my quote unquote time off to increase my fitness and do everything that I could, because I was adamant about going back to Memphis to get the medal and earn the medal that I didn't the year before. And then Memphis was canceled. So I couldn't get my redemption from Memphis. So I picked what I thought was the closest race to those conditions with the hills and the heat. So I picked 70.3 Louisville. And I trained as hard as I could for that race. I think I remember looking back at my training peaks, and I had like a 92, 93% all green, like all my workouts done. And so as I towed the line and finished the 70.3 Louisville, that feeling of crossing the line and knowing that I did it was just phenomenal. Like, I can't even describe it. And I knew in that moment, my next step was a full. Like, I knew it. Like, okay, I'm going to roll this fitness right on to a 140.6. And then that's where G comes in. So then I'm like, hey, G, I think I'm ready for my first full. And she's like, I think this rehab is going well. I think I'm ready too. I heard you deferred, last year, California to this year. So that's how my first, so to say, 140.6 was chosen, was because G was already signed up. So I was like, if I'm gonna do a race, the fine print in our friendship contract says we got to do it together. She's already paid for this race. So I'm bringing my talents to California. And then I started training for that race. My biggest obstacle that I had to overcome was family and mom guilt. Right. So I have 2 kids. They're younger, early teens, but they both do competitive sports. And so I'm that mom that's at every game, every meet, every competition. I am on the board for my son's swim team. I'm team mom. Like, that's who I am. And then I also have the pretty demanding job. So for me, it was really carving out that time to make sure that 90-something% all green and training peaks I can keep. Because again, if I can't do it 100%, then I'm not going to do it. So I had to deal with that. And it was a lot of early mornings, a lot of late nights to get it all done, but we did it. So, and that's how I ended up on the 140.6 finish line. But my biggest obstacle was really balancing internal, like mom guilt, wife guilt of like, I have all this time that I'm spending away from everyone, and overcoming that.
So we were going to go to the first time story, but you got that out the way because I was wanting, no, it's okay. It's fine. I wanted to hit the California race because you guys did that together, and then I would go backwards to get both of your first time story. But thank you for telling us about it all. And, you have a classic road to triathlon like many. Like you said, you come in and you are a runner. You were going for Boston. You shredded your muscles because you decided not to. I don't even understand that. But anyway, you learned your lesson. Listen, folks, if you're doing a race, make sure you are hydrated properly because you need your muscles, even just to walk, to just be. So don't dehydrate yourself because it does not feel good. All right. But then you had your long race to, or long course to the long course race. And I think that's the beautiful part of racing is that there's no linear way to get to any race. And those that do at some point have a dip in the curve at some point, and then you come back up. And the whole objective is how do you bounce back from that? So, since we learned about Dr. Rojo's first time, G, tell us about you getting into race because you were a tennis, like avid tennis player, but you also come from a volleyball where you went to school. You played volleyball in high school, you played volleyball on the collegiate level, and so you come from an athletic background. But tennis, volleyball to triathlon, help us understand that story.
Yeah, my girlfriend Dana and I were playing a lot of tennis, like competitive recreational tennis, and we were having a really good time. And when she put her rackets down to start running, I kept playing. And then I got a bike. And so we started biking. And so we were doing the city to shore. And I sustained one too many injuries. So at some point, I had a really bad case of tennis elbow, and something else was bothering me. And the physical therapist was like, go get in the pool. I didn't get in the pool. You put a bathing suit on? I don't do that. I don't do that. Then I told myself to get over myself and start swimming. So I was doing a lot of swimming, and then I was attempting to race some retired people in the lane next to me, and I could beat him, but I could not beat her. So, I would they look cute little retired couple, and then I decided that there was a local tri group that would meet after work, so I would go swim with them for a bit, just to okay, let me just remember how to swim again, and I was biking, and then I was running, and then my girlfriend's like, hey, do you want to do a triathlon? I was like, okay, sure. So, I would do like a sprint. I did like the nation's try, but we didn't swim because of the rain the night before. And then I think I dabbled like sprint for a couple of years until her friend wanted to go do Ironman Louisville for her 40th birthday. And so my friend Dana was doing it, Erin was doing it. She looked at me, do you want to do it? I was like, absolutely not. Like, look, I can wrap my head around 112 mile bike ride. I can. I enjoy biking that much. The swim doesn't seem too bad. The 112-mile bike ride is great. But who in their right mind gets off the bike after a 112-mile bike ride and then thinks running 26 miles is a good idea? Like, this is crazy. Like, no, I'm not doing that. No, I'm not doing that. I don't know. They asked me a few more times, and I think maybe after the third or fourth time, I was like, well, I wonder what kind of shape I get myself into. It seems kind of hard. I'd like to do hard things, but what kind of shape could I get myself into? And then again, then I signed up for it. So it was Ironman Maryland that we went to in 2016. Nervous wreck, of course, when we got all the way down to Cambridge, and the water was too choppy. And so they canceled the swim because the water had too many white caps. I don't know if it's too many, but they had white caps. So they deemed the water unsafe to swim. So it was a time trial bike and run. And before I went to Maryland, I thought, you know what, I'm going to do another one because I want to see if I can do another one and do it better than the first one. So we finished Ironman Maryland. Okay, I mean, it was fine. So then I signed up the next year to go to Ironman Santa Rosa. So out in California, and that was beautiful. It was great. Had a good swim. Came off the bike course, feeling like, oof, I really need to work on my climbing here. But about 6 weeks before that, I had sustained a psoas issue, which is like right deep in the hip flexor. So I was in physical therapy, with the physical therapist. Look, I know you're going to tell me to go sit down someplace, but I'm not going to. I need you to patch me up and get me to the start line. Um, and I'll come home and then we'll rehab. I'll sit still and rehab. And so I got there and I don't know where we were on the bike, but at some point once we came out of the vineyards and we came back down into the city, we had hit this one particular road with a really nasty headwind and really bumpy road. And my hip flexor just full on flared up. And I was in so much pain. I just didn't think I was going to make it. So I just said, well, just keep pedaling. Like it just doesn't matter. Came out of the wind and took a turn and the road smoothed right out, like freshly paved. And then all of a sudden I was thinking, oh, I might actually make it. So I don't, I was trying to do that whole, well, how fast do I need to go in order to make the cutoff with whatever time? And, I don't know if everybody gets that triathlete brain where the math does not math, right? So I just told myself just to keep pedaling and just keep going. So okay, let's just go. My speed starts picking up. I start passing people again, come through this intersection. The police stop the traffic, fly to the intersection, and there's a guy on the side of the road with his bike in his lap. And everybody's like, are you okay? And he's like, yes. I'm like, you okay? Yes. I'm like, do you need help? He said, yes. Oh. So I turned around and I went back to the intersection and asked the police to get a medic. I said, there's a guy, looks like he's injured, but he's sitting on the side of the road. So he said, okay, we'll call that in. So I went back and got off my bike, and his bike was upside down. So handlebars towards his feet. And so his rear cassette was in his lap, and the rear cassette had dug into his thigh. So when I decided to pick up his bike and move it off his lap, like there was a really big gash and soft tissue poking out. So I thought, oh, geez, you're not supposed to move what's applying the pressure. So, I was chatting with him and found out, his name, where he's from. He was from out of the country. So I said, well, I'll wait with you until help gets here. And I knew in that moment that if I waited with him, that was going to cost me my race. So I waited. Another police officer showed up and he said, okay, I'll take you from here. You can go. And in the back of my mind, I thought, okay, I don't know what happens to me, but okay. So I took off. And when I got to transition, the guy's like, you're late. I said, well, yeah, I know. I was with somebody who needs to go to the hospital. And so they took my bike. They pretty much halted me. And then I found out a couple of weeks later that I should not have taken the time penalty for rendering aid to another athlete. So Ironman said, okay, we'll, give you a discount to go do another one. You've got all this fitness. So I went and signed up for Ironman Arizona because my girlfriend lives out there. And she said, just come out here and do this one. Okay. So I go to Arizona in the fall and I make it to mile 95 on the bike. But the Arizona course is a 3-loop course. It's like an 8 miles flat. And then it's an 11-mile climb. It's not a steady climb. I mean, it's a steady climb, but it's not a steep climb. It's a low grade climb before it gets steep once you get to the beeline. And then it's a climb with a headwind. And you have to do this loop 3 times. And I was late on the 3rd loop getting up to mile 95. And I tell you what, I was angry. I was angry that I had told my coach at the time that I needed to work on my climbing. And that is exactly what sunk me on this course. And I was very upset. That is something within my control. There's something I could have done better. And I was very upset about that. So I knew I would do another one. So I switched coaches, and my new coach was like, if you work with me, I'll get you up the beeline, no problem. So I registered for the next year, and I went back the next year. But Arizona is tricky in that it's dry heat out there, right? It's also in November, right before Thanksgiving. And, here on the East Coast, when it's warm or it's humid, I just sweat, right? I run cold, but I sweat rather profusely. And I really wasn't sweating a lot out there. So did fine with the swim. The water's cold. It didn't matter. I did fine on the bike. I'm on the run course, just, doing my intervals. And I was coming through mile 14, and I just had a nasty wave of feeling dizzy, lightheaded, and nauseous. And it was dark. And I thought, oh, this is not good. There's something not right here. And if I pass out, there's just not enough people out here to pick me up and keep eyes on me if something happens. So I got out to mile 15. I did the turnaround, and the medics were at the aid station. So I stopped and had a chat with them. And he pretty much told me I was cold because I wasn't sweating. And he's like, you've got 2 options. He can send you down to the medical tent to get you some fluids, or you can go to the hospital. Send me to the medical tent, because I had other friends that were racing there as well. So I learned that those are my signs of massive dehydration, is lightheaded, dizziness, and being nauseous, which I really didn't figure out for like a year. But I had to voluntarily halt that one. So I registered again. So now this is like 2020. So it's 19. So I registered for 20. No, I'm sorry, this was 2019. So I registered to go back in 2019. But early on, I realized I was too tired. I just didn't have the energy to do that level of training, that volume again, the 4 a.m. wheels down, 5 a.m. wheels down for, 25, 30 miles outside on the road before traffic picks up, or starting that early on the weekend to get done at a reasonable hour, just to get out on the streets before traffic picks up. So I said, okay, I think 19 is out. I'm going to register I'll just defer it to 20. So I deferred it to 20. Hello, that's the year of the pandemic. So everything got rolled to 21. So I'm training. I think I was not really that excited about it. I was in, but I was like, my swim still needs work. I'm not too sure, because I'm not really happy with where my swim is. Ironman Arizona was in Tempe-Town Lake. And so there's no assist or anything like that. You just have to be able to swim well. So I was toying with it, and right about when I was confident to tell my coach, I don't think I want to do it this year. I think I want to defer it. I was heading down to Delaware to do a bike ride, and keep my bike on the top of my car. And so it was one Saturday morning, heading down nice and early in the morning. It's dark. I pull over to tighten the straps on the front wheel of my bike. And when I take off, I just hear this banging noise on my car. And when I pull over again, one of my tires is hissing at me. And the long and short is that I go to a car dealership to just get the tire looked at. Because while I have run flats, they should not hiss and they should never be at 0 PSI, right? I've gone at 5 PSI and the tire will run. And the long and short of it is when I got there and said to them, "Do you want me to take my bike off the rack?" They said, "No, no, no, you're fine." And 20 minutes later, a tech brought my car in and totaled my bike because I didn't take it off the rack. So we deferred. I'm like, well, I really can't race now because now I don't have a bike. So I deferred to 22. And that's when I was like, okay, this is it for me. I'm done. My last long course until that summer when everybody was planting the seed of, well, we know you got to race with us. And I was like, oh, okay, okay, I'll do it. And that's how we got there.
It's like uh, the deferred dream, right? Like you never gave up despite all of the challenges. And I think in both your stories, you had very different but similar challenges that prohibited at some point the racing or having to, from being hospitalized to not having a bike to helping someone during a race, which not many people will stop their race to help somebody. But that goes to speak to like your character. And with you, Dr. Regina, just having to make the decision, I choose my body versus anything that will get me back here in, being hospitalized or stripping my muscles. So as we wrap up, I think we all try for different reasons. We all have different. If you had to do it over again, what would you tell your beginner self about the journey?
Dig in
I
and
think
go.
I would
That's
think
it.
I would just tell myself, you can do it.
Yeah.
Like there's no point in worry. Like you can do it. 'Cause I think we spend so much time focusing on what do I need to do so that I can do this, right? Like, am I
Yeah.
training enough? Am I eating enough? Do I have the right bike? Do I have the right gear? Because you're so worried about not being able to do it when in fact you can. It's that true kind of like you already have what you need to get it done because it's not the training trains your body for it, right? But there's a certain type of person that gets these races done, that makes it across the finish line, that continues to try. And if you're that person, those other pieces just help you, but you can get it done. Like it's you as the person, like you can get it done. So I would just tell myself that in the beginning, like you got it, like you know who you are, like you can do it.
Yeah. And I think the challenge of can I get the discipline? Can I stick to it when I'm tired, right? When I'm tired and I don't feel like it, right? And then understanding how to pivot certain things, right? And to adapt, right? Because I learned that I can swim. I only like to swim mostly in the morning. I can run in the morning, afternoon, or evening. For some odd reason, I have a struggle with the trainer in the morning, but I can be on the trainer at night. And not to
Lord Jesus.
and not to force myself around that, right? Because I learned, I think one morning I tried to get on the trainer and then I got sleepy and then I sat down to take a nap. I fell asleep for an hour. Like, and it's 5 a.m. But I could go run 5 miles at 5 a.m. without a problem, right? So really just to tell my beginner self, you can do it. We can and will transform. And it's all for the good.
Yeah.
All for the good.
Yeah. And I think one other thing too, is the consistency over perfection, right? That like, we have the saying, right? Like something is better than nothing. And that is true, right? It's every workout doesn't have to be perfect. You're going to miss some workouts because life happens, right? But the consistency, the showing up for yourself every day is what matters. Like don't chase perfection, right? Don't try to, as G has stopped me many of times, like don't try to make up the missed workouts. Move on, like continue with your training plan and move on because it's the consistency piece, the resiliency, even just from a mental perspective, but from a physical perspective, that muscular resiliency that comes from showing up every day and the consistency is what matters the most over hitting paces and miles and watts. Forget the perfection and just chase the consistency. I think I would tell myself that too. I've learned that lesson now, but I definitely didn't know that in 2022.
And now that we're in the top of 2026, what does it hold for you and what are you looking to get out of it professionally, from an athlete standpoint, just in general?
For me, I already claimed it. 2025, I called it my year of bravery, right? Like I was scared, I was unsure of things, but I decided to show up anyway. So the saying of like do things scared was like all of me for 2025. For 2026, I'm claiming fearlessness. Like all that fear, we're done, right? We're done with being brave, right? Showing up scared and doing it anyway. We're just going to do it. We're going to start with faith and we're going to believe in ourselves from the beginning. We're going to put fear to the side and we're doing everything fearless. So that's and it doesn't matter what aspect of my life, but definitely for tries, that counts too and goes for that. This is my year of fearlessness.
And you, G?
Honestly, this is just my year of consistency. I think last year was tough with the injury and then the crazy work schedule. Now the work has leveled itself out. It's really just a matter of getting back to consistency, right? Just being consistent to build strength, right? And that's it, right? Because I felt like I fell off a cliff. I think that's normal, right? You do the Ironman and you fall off a cliff, like all of a sudden, like what has happened, right? But now it's just about getting that back, getting consistent again to build better strength. I mean, I was strong last year, but I can be stronger. So that's really what it is, just to build strength and just
And
have a
there's
good
no better
time.
way for you to prove that to yourself than to sign up for Ironman Chattanooga for September 27th, 2026.
Did she just do that? What I think she did?
I don't know
Just
what she
did.
did. Is this recorded? I think
It
this is
is.
recorded.
I just think that's a great race for you to sign up for. There may
Oh,
be people there, Just saying.
oh,
I've already
wow.
volunteered to Sherpa.
You did. You did.
The shots were fired and not, they were dodged. I liked it. It
Yeah.
was like, no, we're gonna dodge that because I said I was supporting you. But I love how you put that in there so you can see the dynamics of this friendship in the GeeTex made me do it or the Dr. RoJo. I keep calling her Dr. RoJo because I did not learn about Dr. Rogina until today. Dr. RoJo made me do it. So with that, thank you so much for being on the podcast. This has been a joy to have you tell your stories because there's a little bit of something in your stories that will resonate with someone. And so that is the impetus of it. So thank you. But I can't have you leave without doing a little rapid fire questions. And so I've been really thinking of some things to ask. I don't know how this is gonna go because this is my first time back, but we're gonna figure it out. Because I'm trying to do a little something different. I think when people are listening, this is episode 162, I believe. And so people have heard the questions over and over again. So they come with anticipation. I gotta switch the game up a little bit to see
There
like
you go.
what are we gonna do?
We just
First
said to
question
tell you I only
is,
peed on the bike once, and I didn't do it after that. Only once I peed on the
well,
bike,
can
and
you
I
not go there? Let's start that over. Like you can be this ain't your show. Okay?
and,
So
and I know it's a
don't start,
question.
do not start the rapid fire until I get there. That is
Okay,
the peak of the oh, that's what happens when people listen. Jesus. Like, I don't want to tell people not to listen, but let me guide this part of it,
okay.
please. Shucks. Hmm. First question. Real food or gels?
Oh, Miss Potato. I am gels all day, gels and gummies, like chews. Two
Because gummies could
potatoes
have
and a
said something
fish.
differently.
Well, I switched to real food, and I'm laughing because there are a number of people
Okay.
who
She
give
has
me
lunch
real
on the
food.
bike. She has dinner on the bike.
I have been also told that I bring all the snacks,
All the
but
snacks.
I switched over to food a couple of years ago. So I eat roasted red potatoes. And up until this year, I would eat, it's 3 bites. I learned that 3 bites works for me on the bike. So 2 potatoes, 1 fig Newton. There was a challenge this year when I went gluten sugar free. So I spent probably 4 to 6 weeks on figuring out how to make a gluten free, sugar free fig Newton. And then I nailed that. And so I was able to hold 2 potatoes and 1 fig Newton on the bike. It's great.
And I just go and buy a isotonic gel where I take 2 gels per hour on the bike.
And Dr. Rogina, please, we have to tell them how, like, if she's saying this, she is a biochemist. So she
Yeah.
knows the right food chains and the chambers and all how the periodic table works together in the food to work in the body. And she's
Yes.
done the testing. So she already knows, just putting it out there.
Yes.
Next question, group ride or solo missions?
Group rides all day.
Group
I
rides.
feed off people. Like, if we're gonna be out there suffering, let's laugh. I can laugh by myself, but it's better to
Yeah.
laugh with people. Group rides every time.
Yeah. Group rides.
Mm. Ocean swims or lake?
Lake, very specific Lake Michigan, but lake swim over ocean. No one has
Like,
time for sea salt sickness.
right. This is
I'll take
salty.
an amoeba before I take some sea salt.
No.
No, no.
Mm.
Lake.
Oh, did you answer, G?
Yeah, I'm with Ro. Lakes. Oceans are
Oh.
salty.
Mm-mm.
Something like that.
Do you sleep in a bonnet or have a silk pillowcase to protect your hair?
Both, because it is inevitable that bonnet is coming off. So my pillowcase is my second line of defense.
Scarf for me. And actually, I only recently went back to a scarf because I felt like my hair was getting a little dry. Because it used to always fall
Mm.
off, but no, I just wear a scarf.
This is culturally specific. The nod. Do you think that that is essential or optional?
Essential.
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 Yeah.
Okay.
Unless you're
Just
RoJo and she get cussed out on the run course, like I got cussed at on the run course.
I didn't curse.
can you tell us a little bit more about that?
I mean, I had a little nausea coming off the bike, and thanks to Mashonda, my Sherpa, for getting me up and running on the run course. And when I got out on the run course, I specifically saw a row, and I remember hearing, "Where the beep have you been?" I was just thinking, "Where the beep you been?"
That did happen. That did happen. But in my defense, I had saw G in the water, right? When we got to that confluence point, she didn't see me, but I saw her at the water. We were at that crazy buoy. So then I get out of the water and I'm looking for G. I'm changing my stuff in the changing tent, right? I see G in the changing tent. Great. Get out on the bike course. I saw G on the bike course. So now I'm on the run course and I'm like, I should see G. Where's my friend? So I'm like, I'll see her at some point, and I'm running and time, too much time had went by and I did not see her. So it was a mix of where is she and is she okay? So then, in true fashion, once you recognize she's okay, because now I see her, it's where have you been? What took you so long? Why am I just seeing
Have you
you?
been? You put the beep in there. That's important. You cuss that.
But she was safe. She was fine.
Well, we're glad that the nod sort of happened in way of
Yes.
verbal affirmation.
Yes.
But
Yes.
it is essential. It is
Essential.
That's how
essential.
that happened. In a monologue during a tough mile, I am a queen, or why did I do this to myself?
Oh, it's never my internal dialogue. Whew, it's I talk more to the pain. It's like, hello, I was waiting for you. I dare you to outlast me. Keep up with me. Let's go. Who, like, my mama didn't raise no punk. Like, that's my internal
So you
dialogue in a
gangster with
tough
it.
mind. Big time. Big
Okay.
time. That's my internal dialogue. Like, let's go.
Okay.
Like, this is what tough is. I'm gonna show you tough.
Mine was very I do a math problems, right? So everything for me is always just get to the halfway point. If you get to the halfway point, then you chip through the second half, right? So even by the time I got on the run course, I at some point will do the math. All right, the swim was 2.4, the bike was 112. All right, so we're 114.4. Now, where are we on the run? So even if I'm 6 miles into the run, I'm like, well, you're 120 miles into this day, right? You're 120 miles. What is 20 more miles? You can do anything for 30 seconds. So let's just go and work 30 seconds at a clip, right? That's it. 30 seconds, 30 seconds, right? Because you can do anything for 30 seconds. And I did a lot of that in training too. Like if something was bothering me, we'll just do it for 30 seconds. You can do anything for 30 seconds. Just go. And so I remember at some point deep into the run, I don't know, somebody around me was complaining about something. And I was like, look, people, we are 132 miles into this day. We are more than halfway done. If we're doing 132 miles, then there's only 6 miles to go. You can do that. That's it. There's not much left. Like, let's go. And it happened the second time on. I'm like, look, people, we're 130 whatever miles into this day. We're more than halfway through. There's not much left to go.
Well, we have that. Thank you so much for that. So This is getting a little personal, and I need you to be truthful with your response. G started the GeeTex made me buy it, but who has made who buy more in the lifespan of the friendship?
Hands down, G's made me buy more stuff. Hands down. I just bought a $600 pair of shoes last week because of G, 2 weeks ago. Like, hands down, I have bought more stuff because G has either co-signed or sent a link or mentioned something. Hands down. It's not even close.
This is an expensive friendship.
Big time. Big time. But she makes brownies. She makes the best brownies. So it kind of makes up for. And then she does your first race with you, right? So, like, what do you got to do? What do you got to do? You got to keep.
Somehow I'm innocent because, like, I just went swimming. I went and swam. I came home. I attempted to go for a run. And then all of a sudden, I was being blamed for a purchase. I don't even know how it was my fault. And I was like, I was just in a pool. Like, how did I get in trouble when I was in a pool swimming? I don't understand.
Especially a $600 pair of shoes. I'm confused.
No. That was a whole different one because she slid into the group chat talking about, I've been eyeballing these shoes. And somebody else said, I think you're in the wrong group chat to be told no. You know who's in here. I'm in here and G's in here. Why are you asking us not to buy the shoes?
Oh.
And it ended with, the answer is always yes, buy the shoes.
The shoes are cute. Get the shoes.
Yeah. Yeah. And the one question that we don't allow people to leave the podcast with that G was trying to ruin my moment with is, do you pee on the bike or get off and take a proper pee break? G, I'll let you answer first since you already told us. And then let's end with the heighten of Dr. RoJo.
I've only managed to do it once. And that was a few years ago. Other than that, mostly, and I, especially with Ironman, I was like, somebody else is going to get my bike. And so if some people are going to get my bike, I can't really pee on the bike because that would be gross. So I'm now like, just get off and just take a proper pee break.
So for me, this may come as a shock. I do not pee at all on the bike. So granted, right, 2025 was my first time being on the bike that long, but every century that I did, I stopped at like a Walgreens or a restaurant or something. But in a race, I don't know what it is. I don't have to pee. So like I did the full 112, drank what I was supposed to drink, ate what I was supposed to eat, and I didn't pee until T2. So I don't know. My bladder just holds I don't know what happens, but I've never peed on the bike and I've never had to pee during the race. The feeling to pee comes more on the run than the bike, but I never use a porta potty. I got through that whole race and I used a porta potty once and I was in T2.
So you didn't have to use the bathroom the whole time you ran?
Nope. I peed T2 and then I peed after I crossed the finish line when I changed my clothes.
Nice.
The whole race.
Wow. Well, blessed be the person who doesn't have to pee during the run or on the bike. Good for you. That's not the case for everybody. With that said, thank you all so much for being here. We have this saying on Try Beginner's Luck, whenever you try, you always win. That is to be true. This is Black History Month. I hope you enjoyed listening to this two amazing stories of two incredible Black women, but also women who try. And yeah, it warms my heart to just see the diversity in sport as we continue to grow. With that said, like, share, follow. If you love your friends, share this with them. Like, this is the best thing that you can do, especially when just some lighthearted content that can brighten their day and maybe even encourage them to try. We are on all the major podcast platforms, and I say Substack too. So go join us out there. I'll be more consistent with posting. It's like, oh, all the things to post. Oh my gosh. But we'll be more consistent with posting with that. All right. Until next time, my name is Mashonda Mouse, also known as Mashonda Shines. And we are out. Peace. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in and listening to this episode. We need your help so we can continue to try at TBL. So for more information on where you can find and subscribe to this podcast, visit www.trybeginnersluck.com. And don't forget, whenever you try Beginner's Luck, you always win.